Hi everyone, it's Diary of a Mystic. Welcome to One Bad Tarot Reader Podcast 6. Podcast 6. So for those of you that like to listen to this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the viewers and the listeners that do tune in to One Bad Tarot Reader. So I wanted to talk to you today about when you're not feeling so great. And if you're a spiritual worker or a tarot reader or a psychic and you're not feeling so great, like your life's going to shit, okay? You're having problems, you're having a relationship, family issues, baby daddy drama, whatever it is, this happens. This will happen to your tarot reader. This will occur in your spiritual worker's life. You may not know about it. You may not hear about it. They may be having one of those days where they're scheduled to sit down with you for a reading and they're having cramps from hell. They are not going to tell you this. And to remember that tarot readers or psychics or mediums or your spiritual worker is human. And they're human beings just like you. So what do you do when you're not feeling so great, when something's going on in your life? Well, when I started to do this work professionally, I was in between things in my life. And I was a working single mom. I had gone back to school. And I wanted to really, my dream was to have my own business or to work for myself. And over time, I was able to do that. And then I would have moments where I had to take a job to supplement my income. Also, I had bad relationships as well, or I had baby drama with a baby daddy. And I also would have family issues that were going on. And so when you're not feeling so great, we're typically not going to see, because social media can be very deceptive, we're not going to see someone speak about that because we're trying to be a beacon of light for others. But at the same time, we could also be dealing with depression, financial troubles, family issues, legal issues, fighting with people or having estrangement. So there can be points in your tarot reader's life that you will never know about. And at the same time, typically when people come to you for a reading, they're not coming to you because everything's so great, right? They have questions about their love life, their career, they're in between a crossroads, they need validation, they need help to make a decision, they're uncertain about their future, etc. And so when you're not feeling so great and you may have an off day, it's very important for you to work through it and not allow what's going on in your life to overlap or filter through someone else's reading. Meaning, you're sitting down doing a reading for a client and you're looking at the cards and you're drawing a blank and you're like, hold up, this is talking about my life. Especially if energies are very strong about a particular situation that your reader is struggling with, sometimes the reading can become about them. It doesn't happen often. So what do? Well, I've had moments like that where I've sat down, something's going on in my life, I shuffle the cards, I'm trying to tune into the client's energy, and the reading is becoming about me. So I stop, I reshuffle, I focus more on the client's energy and separate myself totally from the reading, which is hard to do because many readers are very sensitive. Many readers are empathic. Many readers are very passionate people, very creative people, very emotional people. So, what happens if you're not feeling so great and the reading all of a sudden looks like it's talking about you? Also, many times in readings, aside from what's going on in your life, you will see answers to a client's question that also is healing for the reader, which can happen as well. And so you have to be very careful. There's a line that you have to draw in the tarot sand, so to speak, between your energies and the client's energies. Typically, when you tune in to another client's energy, I will feel body sensations. If you've heard about people getting goosebumps, tingles, the hair standing on the back of their neck type of feeling, that can also be applied to energy as well. Or feeling physical sensations. For instance, having a pain in a part of your body or picking up on an area on yourself physically, which is being mirrored back to you or reflected on you, which is what is going on with the client. So, tarot readers have good days, tarot readers have bad days. And that's just life. Kind of reminds me of the time when I was in labor with my first child, my only child. I was in labor for about 16 hours at that point, and I was having a hard time. She was 9 pounds. She was a big baby. I wasn't pre-diabetic. I wasn't diabetic or anything like that, but she was just a big baby. And so I had my midwife out that day. The midwife was out that I had been working with, having my appointments with the whole 9 months. All of a sudden, here comes another midwife who I'd never met before. I remember she was redhead. She came in, had a terrible look on her face, and she says, "I'm not in the best mood. I've just had a root canal." So I'm laying there in the hospital bed with the whole world to see, how it is to be in labor. And I remember laying there thinking to myself, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? This woman who just had a root canal, who's in pain herself, is going to help deliver my baby? And my immediate emotional response was, no, 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 no. I'd rather have Richard Simmons come in bouncing around, like, come on, let's jazzercise to have my child delivered instead of this curmudgeon who just had a root canal that I had never met before. But what had happened was her pain within her own physical self was driving her to help reduce my pain. Do you know where I'm going with this? And I delivered my baby, had a C-section, unfortunately, but I had a C-section and I delivered my baby and I was fine. And I never saw the redheaded root canal midwife ever again. So even professionals have bad days and they still show up to do the work. And so your tarot reader, you may not have a clue about what's going on in their life. You may not even want to know. And tarot reader doesn't mean that the tarot reader is kind of like Glenda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Your tarot reader is human, and your tarot reader knows what it feels like to be in an abusive, bad relationship or a toxic work environment, or knows or has experience with narcissistic family traits, or has experienced early parent loss, or has experienced financial troubles, or has experienced something. Because if they didn't have that experience, they wouldn't be able to give you good advice, or they wouldn't be able to help you navigate your way through the shit show. Okay? And I find when typically, if something's going on in my life, I attract clients that may also be dealing with the same type of issues. And it's almost as if spirit is leading them to me, okay? Or I'm being led to them. And it's beneficial for me as well. And so you do get a lot from your client. They say the client needs you more than you need them. I feel that sometimes the reader needs the client more in some instances, because it also helps the reader. Doing this type of work is very much connected to healing. And it is a healing type of profession, especially on a level that's emotional, spiritual. It can also be very healing to do with any type of past issues. And oftentimes, we see something on the surface, or the client may see something on the surface and not realize that the issue is rooted, and the foundation of its roots goes way back in their lives, way back in their lives. And so it's up to the client to identify this, to recognize it, and to want to work on it. So many times, because I'm a work in progress, girl, I'm like working on myself all the time, whether it's with, uh, being a better person, or managing my money, or developing a healthier lifestyle, or keeping my word, and showing up for something, procrastination issues, you name it. So sometimes I think the client, or clients, not all clients, may not want to identify the root of something. They may also not want to do the work as well, because it is work. And so when you offer guidance, when you offer a type of solution, it's very much the client's choice. And I always state this in my readings. Nothing is set in stone, not even a reading. Because I'm primarily a predictive reader, and that's just how I studied, and that's the route that I took. So nothing is set in stone, though. Energies change because we have free will. We have free will. It's also dependent upon, especially if a client comes to you and they're inquiring about a past lover, a past relationship, or a new relationship, or a new lover, or a job, or what's going to happen with this. should I take this route or should I go this route? What looks better for me? I always state it's also dependent upon your decision, your choice, because you have free will. So, your tarot reader, your spiritual worker, your psychic, your medium may have stuff going on in their lives. They may share it with you, they may not. Also, your reader may be skilled in specific areas as a reader, meaning they may have great ways to give a career reading or have great abilities to deliver really good readings about love or money or healing as well. I've had moments in readings with people where we're discussing or reading for a specific topic that the person's very worried about. And out of that reading will come a solution, or sometimes because spirit listens and you're connecting to spirit when you do a reading, spirit, it gets put up on that bulletin board, and if spirit wants to help that person, they'll help that person with their issue, and I'll get an email days later stating to me, oh my God, this just happened, yada, yada, yada. I really think a lot of things happened during my reading. That's not typical, but it can happen. And so when someone comes to you in 100% confidentiality and trust about a sensitive subject and they need help, and if spirit says or agrees, I'm going to help this person, and it's kind of like, because spirit always listens. So it's on the spiritual bulletin board in the break room, okay? And if spirit wants to take on that action or take on something for someone, and that's up to them, and they may or they may not. And sometimes they do. And so when your reader is going through something in their life, this could even be death, loss, this could be, real stuff that they're going through. The client may not have an idea at all, but that your doctor's not going to tell you what's going on in their life, or your dentist, or maybe your hairstylist might, but many people keep things private, and so will your reader, your spiritual worker, your psychic, but they've been through these things. And so when we see a lot of things on social media talking about shadow work, that's the dark, icky, black stuff about ourselves. That's the stuff that we don't want to look at. That's the stuff that I'm not going to recognize that about myself, okay? That's what shadow work is about. And so many times in readings, we're touching upon issues that the client may not resonate with because they don't want to face it. They don't want to hear that. And it's up to the reader in terms of navigating and being sensitive to the client to help navigate them. And so there's a lot of responsibility there for the reader themselves to help that person. And I've sat down not feeling so great, and I've done a reading with the client, and the reading was so positive that I was energized after the reading. And so the reading's energy boosted my energy, and it's helped me. So if someone who's listening right now, who's not a reader, who gets readings, just realize that your reader is also tapped into the same energy cord as you while they're doing your reading. You're sharing the same energy space, the same energy field, and do not be surprised, especially if your reading is very heavy, that after you hang up and say goodbye to your client, to your reader, that your reader may later on feel very drained, feel very tired, may get a little depressed, may even catch a cold, okay? Because they're taking on so many different energies dependent upon how many readers or readers, I keep saying readers, how many readings they're doing in a day, doing during a week, a weekend, etc. So, your reader is human. We all have things going on in our lives, whether they're in our control or not. And your reader also has experience. I've always said this. I really believe this, that every reader or spiritual worker has experienced some form of trauma in their life. Some form of trauma. Uh, they have experienced this, which has given them the tools and the wisdom to help other people. And so essentially, we're in service to other people. We're just in service through spirit, through being a messenger or a vehicle as well. So that's why it's very important as a spiritual worker, a tarot reader, a psychic, a medium, whatever you're doing for your clients, you pick and choose who you're going to help and who you're not going to help. I think sometimes people think automatically, um, well, this person will do this for me. Or, no, 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 no. Sometimes we turn people down. I don't want my, I don't want to open the door. I don't want to open the door to this for myself and be attached to this energetically. I don't want to put myself in that, depressing energy soup. But that's just dependent upon what the client needs, you know. So, and many tarot readers stop there. They don't do other services. They don't do spell work services. They don't do spiritual services. They don't, sell or make things. They just strictly do readings, which is fine. When I first started out, that's all I did. I strictly did readings. And then I elevated to other things because that's where my interest went and that's where I was guided to go. And then I discovered, hey, I'm pretty good at making candles. Wow, I didn't know I could do this. So, it's just dependent upon where you take it. Okay. Some people are going to be attracted to your energy, and some people are not going to be attracted to your energy. Some people are going to be put off by your energy. Some people are going to be intimidated by your energy. The funny part of it is, though, empaths in particular, because I feel that it's almost like psychic and empath is very blended. Empaths are very psychic. Psychics are very empathic. So I think that it's almost like the same word to me. However, psychic is defined as past, present, future. Okay. But empaths are very psychic. Intuition is psychic to me as well. So we have all these different words and definitions of things, but psychically, I can pick up on a person's energy. And even before I sit down and do a reading with them, I'm getting messages, I'm getting messaging, I'm picking up on things days before I do the reading. Spirit will show you signs as a reader. Pay attention to them. The number one thing that I've learned is to trust the message that comes through. It may not make any sense to me whatsoever, but it will make sense to that client. Okay? It won't make any sense to me because it's not supposed to. It will make sense to the client. There's many times when I receive images or dates or words or things that I receive that don't make any sense to me. And I've learned to trust to deliver the message. And that's where a good reader really starts to become better, is when they trust the message. And if things aren't going so great in your reader's life, where they're not trusting their own intuition, because girl, that happens. Even as a reader or a psychic or a medium or a spiritual worker, you have moments and days where you aren't trusting yourself at all. You're not trusting your intuition. You have those days. And especially if you're dealing with people where if you are trusting your intuition in your personal life and people are reflecting back to you, oh, that's wrong. And then, of course, you find out later that, no, you were right. And so it happens. And it can happen to the most seasoned, professional, expert, psychic of the world. I mean, it just happens to where you have a particular situation or a day or a moment where you weren't expecting something to happen and it did, or your intuition failed you about something, or you just, it happens because you're human. And so I don't think that people really understand when they're wanting to learn a divination system such as the the tarot cards, or the tarot, like to say in my snobby voice, the tarot. They don't realize that it's just not about learning the cards. Yes, you should master all 78 cards, absolutely, before you start giving readings. You should know the definition of each card, but I don't think people realize what it takes to sit down and do a reading for someone, because there comes a huge responsibility behind it. And many times you'll see people on YouTube or doing videos in particular or whatever on their websites for entertainment purposes only. Okay, a plane just flew over. For entertainment purposes only, and that's a legal disclaimer. It's a legal disclaimer because there's a lot of responsibility in a reading. And your reader should know that, obviously. But I don't think people realize when they're like, I want to learn how to read the cards. What do I do? What do? You sit down and you learn the cards. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of study. But if you want to read for clients, there's a lot that goes into that. And so there's a huge weight of responsibility to go into that. You will have moments where it's a learning curve. It's a work in progress where you'll find your own niche with people. You'll find what you'll read for and what you won't. You'll have days where you don't want to read at all. You'll have moments where you think to yourself, I don't feel like reading today because you just don't feel so good, or you're busy, you got stuff going on, or whatever it is. Your reader doesn't live in that world 24/7. They can't. They have, they're people. They have day-to-day activities, life, things happening. And so when people think, oh, I'm going to be a tarot reader and have clients and make money, it's not that simple. It's not that simple because it's not about that. And if it is about the money, people are going to see that. They're going to know that. And, when it comes to charging clients, it took me quite some time to become confident enough to know my worth. And that's something I can talk about on the next podcast is how much should I charge? Or should readers charge at all? So thank you for tuning in to One Bad Tarot Reader, podcast 6. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I just wanted to talk about, the basic day-to-day, what it's like to be a reader. We're just people. We have the same problems you do. Sometimes we don't feel so great. And so what do? And just keeping it real. Because on social media, some I've seen, and I'm not naming anybody, but I've seen some real popular um, readers or people in the spiritual community. Oh, how great their life is! They're having good sex. They're showing their boobs are hanging out. You get, oh, life is good, and blah 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 blah, and how do we know? They might have a hemorrhoid the size of Mars. I mean, we don't really know. But to us, it's like, oh my God, their life's so perfect and magical. I'm sure somewhere down there, somewhere, they got some issues. Okay, there's something in their life that's not going so great. And that's where we have to come back and ground ourselves because it's like this, you start to think, well, wow, that's amazing. Maybe their life is that magical, but your life can be magical. My life's very magical in a lot of ways, but your life can also be, there can be a shit show going on in the foreground somewhere that you're still having to deal with. But that's just part of life. That's just being human. And so your reader is human. Just remember that. Your reader is a human being that is trying to make it in life. And if they have great talents and great gifts, appreciate them for who they are, what they do, and for their time and their energy. Because they're giving their energy to you. They're giving their time, their valuable time, their expertise, their knowledge, their wisdom, their gift. They're sharing their gift with you. And many times some readers don't want to share their gift. They just don't. It depends upon who they're sharing it with. So this is Diary of a Mystic, One Bad Tarot Reader, podcast 6. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Everybody stay blessed, and I'll speak to you soon.